This documentary has been produced to address the issue of the warming ocean levels throughout the world. Greenhouse gases are trapped by the atmosphere, which in turn causes the world to warm up.
Furthermore, the reduced amount of ice on the polar cap results in less of the sun rays reflecting off the ice into space, causing the ocean's water to warm up. This has many effects on the lithosphere, cryosphere, biosphere, and hydrosphere.
The warming ocean water affects the hydrosphere by bleaching the coral. It affects the cryosphere by melting the polar ice caps and permafrost at an ever-increasing rate. And it affects the atmosphere by causing more destructive storms and more frequent hurricanes.
The coral in the Great Barrier Reef has a symbiotic relationship with zooxanthellae algae, which is a microscopic plant that lives within the tissue of the coral in exchange for 90% of the coral's nutritional requirements. However, zooxanthellae algae requires very specific living conditions as it cannot live in cold, deep waters, and this is why the majority of zooxanthellae algae is found in tropical waters. However, it cannot live in hot waters either, as this causes it to thermally stress and stop providing the coral with carbohydrates and instead poisoning the coral. This results in the coral expelling the zooxanthellae algae, and this causes coral bleaching. If the water stays hot for too long, the coral cannot create another symbiotic relationship with zooxanthellae algae, as it's too hot for the zooxanthellae algae to live there. And this causes the coral to die, as they cannot provide themselves with required nutrition to survive.
This will result in the coral being infested with different types of algae that will grow on the dead coral, affecting the species of fish and other species living in the area. Different algae-dependent animals will be more dominant in the area, such as sea urchins and sturgeon fish. However, coral-dependent animals will have to relocate because their habitat has been destroyed. Species such as butterfly fish and habascal sea turtles will become critically endangered because they are highly dependent on the coral for their food sources, such as coral polyps and sponges. These changes in the species and different organisms will harshly affect the biodiversity of the Australian marine life, because these coral-dependent animals will have to move away and find a more suitable area for them to live. This will also affect the food chain in specific areas around the coral, as predators rely on these coral-dependent animals for their diet, and if they move away, the predators will either have to change their diet or move along with these coral-dependent animals.
Another beloved animal of the Australian border will be forced to move out of their natural habitat to find a more suiting environment for their living conditions. The beautiful Australian dolphin will be forced to move out of their environment because of the increasing temperature rate of the ocean and the destruction of their land due to coral bleaching and other effects of ocean warming, such as hurricanes.
So what's next for the Great Barrier Reef? The Great Barrier Reef is bleaching at a constant rate, with over 1,500 out of the 2,300 kilometres of the Great Barrier Reef being bleached. This is caused by the 1 degree rise in sea temperature within the last 19 years, which is one of the fastest rate of the ocean temperature has ever risen before. This does not mean the Great Barrier Reef will die completely. The problem is that the Great Barrier Reef has been bleaching for nearly 2 years throughout the entire of 2016 and 2017. However, this does not mean the Great Barrier Reef will die. We have the ability to help save by reducing the amount of carbon use and slow down climate change that will slow down the process of warming water.
The warming ocean water poses a very present threat to all the icebergs and permafrost around the world. The warming ocean water, which is a result of the increased greenhouse gases and climate change, is melting and thawing the permafrost and icebergs at an ever-increasing rate. This may not seem possible, as the icebergs displace their own amount of weight in water. However, when they melt, this water changes form, but does not increase the amount of ocean in the water. However, the water contained in icebergs is colder and less salty than seawater, so the two do not completely mix. The differences in density cause sea levels to rise slightly. The rising sea level is equivalent to 1.5 million Titanic-sized icebergs each year. The increase in sea level causes flooding and erosion in low-lying coastal cities, as well as altering the habitats of many Arctic animals. For example, Venice, the capital of northern Italy's Veneto region, is built on more than 100 small islands in a lagoon in the Adriatic Sea, and it has no roads, just canals. Therefore, when the ocean level rises and the number of floods increase, it will put Venice in grave danger of being partially destroyed by the increasing sea level. In addition to this, the polar bears depend on icebergs as hunting platforms and resting places. As icebergs melt, polar bears have to swim further between hunting platforms, expending more energy to find food. As a result, individual bears are suffering physically and struggling to reproduce. If the polar bear species die out in the Arctic, this will have vast impacts on the food chain due to the fact that polar bears are the keystone species and they help keep the food web in balance. If they die out, then the seals that they eat as their primary food will be able to breed and there will become vast numbers of them. However, it will also destroy the food chain for the Arctic food web.
Another major impact of global warming heating up the world's oceans is the rise of destructive storms and hurricanes. A hurricane is a large swirling storm that is created from a cluster of storms moving over an ocean. As the storms move over the ocean, they suck up heat energy from the water. When the wind conditions are right, this causes a hurricane. This process is sped up, however, as global warming heats up in the atmosphere, allowing it to hold more water. For every 1 degree Celsius temperature rise, the atmosphere can hold up to 7% more water. This water is then heated and turned into vapor, which is then condensed in the clouds. This causes more rainfall and more water. This water is then heated by the trapped gases in the atmosphere, which then leads to more heated water and more hurricanes.
These destructive storms are not a rare occurrence either. In 2005, 28 hurricanes formed in the Atlantic Ocean and hit all over North and Central America. These devastating hurricanes were caused by rising temperatures in the Atlantic and caused over $158.9 billion worth of damage and killed 3,913 people. In the year 2016, 16 storms hit America, proving that 2005 was not a freak occurrence, but a trend of storms caused by global warming. Hurricanes are causing billions of dollars of damage by dumping tons of water and flooding major cities, disrupting the city for years after the initial storm. Hurricane Harvey, which hit the Gulf of Mexico, dumped over 27 trillion gallons of water onto Guam, Puerto Rico, Texas, and Louisiana. Over 52 inches of flooding was recorded. That's over 1.3 meters high. Hurricanes not only destroy human settlements and infrastructure, massive hurricanes also destroy marine life. When a hurricane is forming, it mixes warm water with the cooler, deeper waters, killing sensitive animals by heating waters to the point they boil to death. Large waves, caused by the winds, smash against the delicate coral, completely shattering reefs. A few animals, such as sharks, can sense a hurricane coming, but as it rolls over, they become stressed and beach themselves trying to escape the hurricane. Hurricanes can destroy ecosystems and it can take many years to recover. But as destructive hurricanes become more common, the marine life will not have enough time to recover.
Due to climate change and rising ocean levels, underwater marine life and reefs are more at risk of a devastating hurricane wiping out an entire ecosystem. This is also the same for humans, as the hurricanes will flood low-lying cities, destroying infrastructure.
In conclusion, global warming has many effects on the Earth, such as the warming ocean. This has started causing coral bleaching, thawing icebergs into permafrost, as well as more frequent storms and hurricanes around the world. These effects also have side effects, such as causing sea life that are dependent on the coral to die, increased sea levels, and destruction of property.
To try and reduce the effects and side effects of warming ocean, we need to stop global warming altogether. We can do this by reducing the amount of power used in our homes, by reducing the amount of aircon used.
Additionally, fit your house with renewable electricity significantly reduces greenhouse gases and global warming as a result. Use a bike or walk to work instead of polluting the air by driving a car. You can also buy less meat products, since livestock products are among the most resource intensive to produce.
Helping the ocean to survive starts with us. We can help influence the future of the ocean.